Recording. Oh boy, I know all of you have been very, very excited because today Dr. Furhman is in the house. So fasten your seatbelt. We're going to learn and grow together. Oh, here we go. I hear the music already. You can turn it up, Brian. Not too loud, but turn it up. Time to dance, Dr. Furhman. I know you're a good dancer.
Seems like your best ain't good enough. If you're in need of hope, you know where I'll be. I'll be right here, right here. And when you need a friend, you can count on me. I'll be right here, waiting for you.
This is the place you can always turn to when you need a friend. The Lillian McDermott Show. To reach out to Lillian, visit her on the web at whenyouneedafriend.com. Now let's all learn together. Here's Lillian McDermott.
Hello, my listening friend. It's so nice we can meet each other on the air on this beautiful best day ever. And for those of you who are new to the Lillian McDermott radio show, the purpose of the show is to provide a safe place where you can go to when you need a friend. It is my commitment to provide alternative ways to heal, and it is my mission to make awareness, responsibility, and truth a part of our everyday life. And I hope you, my listening friend, will feel empowered to learn a new truth, embrace that new truth, and live the life of your dreams. Now, today, I know many of you have been waiting in anticipation because once a month, we have Dr. Joel Fuhrman on the Lillian McDermott radio show. Each time that he's been on for the last 2 years, monthly on the Lillian McDermott radio show, which I am so grateful for, I've learned something new every time. And we've gone over some of the greatest books ever written on nutrition with Dr. Joel Fuhrman. And so I want to ask you a question today. Oh, by the way, if you would like the book, The End of Diabetes, I know you just perked up, The End of Diabetes, be the 10th caller or texter at 407-373-5959. This book could change or save your life. And so today, the topic, I gave it away already, is how to end diabetes. But did you know that some diabetics have been able to reverse, or prevent? Of course, we're going to talk about prevention most importantly, but most diabetics have been able to reverse diabetes within 2 weeks. Yes, within 2 weeks. Now, today we have world-renowned best-selling author Dr. Joel Fuhrman, who we talk about the nutritarian plan. And this nutritarian plan isn't something that he just created out of the blue and turned it into a fad. No, it's here to stay. Thousands of people have tested this documented medical research, all the studies that have been backed by this medical research. And you, not just diabetes, if you have diabetes, not that, heart disease, high blood pressure, you release weight. It's more than just that. But today we're going to focus on diabetes. So Dr. Fuhrman is passionate about helping you live the life that you want because health is the most important. So I want to ask you, have you had your G-bombs today? That's greens, beans, mushrooms, onions, G-bombs, greens, beans, onions, mushrooms, berries, and seed. And that is the best prescription. And we're so grateful to have Dr. Fuhrman. And since it is our sole purpose in life to give and receive love and knowledge, I am grateful that Dr. Fuhrman is back once again. Thank you so much, Dr. Fuhrman, for being on the Lillian McDermott radio show.
Good morning. Great to be here.
Good morning. Now, for those of you who are ready to end diabetes, the number is 407-373-5959. You get that'd be the 10th caller or texter and win this wonderful book, The End of Diabetes. Now, Dr. Fuhrman, I joke with you because you've written many books and they're all just absolutely phenomenal. Now, these are like your babies. I call them your babies. Now, share a little bit about why you wrote The End of Diabetes.
Well, diabetes is ravaging our country. We have the most overweight and obese population in the history of the human race, worse than any country in the world.
Yes.
We also have more diabetics here than anywhere place in the world. over 26 million diabetics. About more than 80 million people have a combination of diabetes or pre-diabetes, and the diabetes continues to expand with higher percentage of the population becoming overweight and diabetic each year. And by the people say within 20 years, almost half our population or a third of our population to a half will be diabetic, or pre-diabetic. The point is that diabetes tremendously shortens lifespan, causes heart attacks, leg amputations, kidney failure, blindness, digestive disorder. In other words, it ravages the body. It makes people expend another $100,000 a year on medical care costs they would no longer have to incur. It weakens our economy. It represents tremendous amount of human tragedy. And wouldn't that be ever so more so sad and tragic if it just doesn't have to be and people aren't given proper information? It's like, imagine if our whole population was still smoking cigarettes and everybody was just treating the smoking of a cigarette with a drug that made cigarette smoking more toxic. So we have half our population diabetic or pre-diabetic, and we're treating them with drugs that make the diabetes advance more rapidly, that are toxic and accelerates their death. The medical profession does not have the answer to diabetes because it's not a medical deficiency, a medical problem. It's a nutritional and dietary problem that's easily reversed. It's reversed quickly. And if people knew how harmful it was to undergo conventional medical care for diabetes, how futile it was, and they knew they can totally get rid of their diabetes and become non-diabetic, then why wouldn't they want to learn this information? So it's just information that people absolutely have to know, and everybody in America has to read this book because they have to be able to help other people.
And today, thank you, Dr. Furhman, and today the 10th caller or texter, 407-373-5959, will win a copy of The End of Diabetes, which is one that you can have and own and help prevent and reverse disease. And we're going to continue our conversation with Dr. Joel Furhman when we return worldwide at whenyounneedafriend.com. We'll be right here waiting for you. Okay, so I have the question. I don't know how much, if we have more time this time or not, but I'm going to propose the question. So we have a listener. They've been a nutritarian since 2007. They think they have leaky gut syndrome. Now, they listen to the show religiously, and they absolutely love it when you're on. They wanted me to ask you, you have views on beans and you have views on grains, but there are other doctors, and she names a few, and I'd rather not name them on the channel, and we can talk about that off the air if you'd like, that promote rice beans, and they promote, they say that you should not have beans. I'm sorry, rice and corn. They promote rice and corn as okay with leaky gut. And they also say not to have any beans because it's too upsetting to the digestive system. Now, would you like to say why there's a big difference in philosophy or maybe research, or can you share a little bit more about leaky gut, and if you think that a nutritarian that's been a nutritarian since 2007 could have leaky gut?
Well, anything is theoretically possible, but it's very, very, very unlikely because the major cause of leaky gut is the bacterial imbalance, the bad bacteria, as opposed to being fueled by a thick biofilm that protects the gut wall. And the foods that fuel the protective biofilm are predominantly green vegetables, raw green vegetables, cooked green vegetables, onion, and also cooked mushrooms and cooked beans. Beans are the starchy food with the most resistant starch. Mm-hmm. And the favorable bacteria live off of the resistant starch. It's called resistant to it's resistant to enzymatic degradation, which means it's degraded by bacteria in the gut. And when you eat beans regularly, you fuel the growth of the right bacteria that lower the glycemic effect of foods because it thickens the biofilm. So it's almost impossible or unheard of for a person following a nutritarian diet to have a leaky gut, which is predominantly caused by the eating of oils and fried foods and sweets. So it's really very, very
okay.
Probably something else there.
Okay,
there are rare individuals who have certain allergies or food intolerances, and some people could be allergic to any kind of food.
Yeah, I think so. And I'm going to text her.
Lillian.
Welcome back to the Lillian McDermott Radio Show, where we always learn and grow with one another. I'm here to tell you that if you have a question for Dr. Furman and we do not discuss it on the air, send me a text or send me an email. My email is lily@whenyouneedafriend.com, or text me at 407-373-5959. You can also call and leave a message. And during the break, because we record the breaks, our conversations, we will talk about what questions you might have. So ask the doctor, and we talk about it during the break. So you'll go to whenyouneedafriend.com, check out YouTube, and then your answers will be there. I'll let you know. I'll respond to you, letting you know that we asked. For those of you who would like a copy of Dr. Joel Fuhrman's book, and you're tired of being tired and diseased, 407-373-5959. It is the 10th caller who will win the book, The End of Diabetes. The End of Diabetes is to help you. It's to create a plan. It's the Eat to Live plan to prevent and reverse disease. Now, today's question that we're talking about off the air is leaky gut. But on the air, we are going to talk about how to end diabetes. Now, Dr. Furman, you gave us some great statistics about what's ahead of us if we don't nip it. Let me just put the phone down because the phone is ringing. That's great. I normally don't look at the phone, so keep calling if you want this book, 407-373-5959. Okay, so with us, go to our doctor. Our doctors, chances are, they have diabetes too. And our doctors are giving us the medications that you say could potentially be more toxic than the actual condition. I don't know if that's even a valid statement. You can correct me there and make it a little bit more clear. But how can we trust our doctors when they are just prescribing medication? And they'll say, oh, yeah, change your lifestyle, but they don't know what to do because they're dealing with it themselves.
Well, I don't know if the same percentage of diabetics are in physicians as there are in the general population. You would think maybe less. I'm not sure.
I don't know.
Less smoking, less obesity among the physician population.
I don't know.
I'm not sure. But basically the point is that most people in our country are in the dark about nutritional excellence and its critical importance for our population. And the medical profession itself, the inherent underlying theme of medical care is coming up with a medication that improves the person's symptoms. And that means you're giving a person a solution that's not dealing with the dietary foundational cause of the problem. When you're giving them a medication, you're giving them a permission slip. I can lower your blood sugar with this medication, you can stay obese. I can lower your blood pressure and your cholesterol and your blood glucose with this medication, so you can keep eating the same diet that caused you to become overweight and diabetic.
But that's an illusion, Dr. Furman. That does not exist. I mean, that's the illusion we've bought into.
That's an illusion, right? It's a myth. And people accept that myth because their numbers now look okay on a blood test or on a finger stick, that they're no longer getting sick from the diet they're eating, which is not true. It actually is. And the Accord study, when you're saying you didn't know how much medications or medical care makes diabetics worse, it was an Accord study, which meant they randomized diabetics into two groups. Half the group got regular medical care, but half the group got intensive medical care with more medical visits, more nurse visits with nurse practitioners. They tried to control their glucose better so they would get more medication and more visits and more care and more finger sticks to control their diabetes better. And the group with better and more care had such a much higher rate of death and such a high rate of morbidity and mortality. The government the NIH had to come in and stop the study prematurely because so many people were dying with more medical care. Doctors couldn't figure it out, but it was very simple to figure it out, is that more medications to control the glucose better, push the failing beta cells in the pancreas to work harder, and more medications to keep the glucose better means your cells are uptaking more glucose, making you get fatter, becoming more insulin resistant, becoming more diabetic. The medical care accelerates the rate at which a person becomes diabetic and makes them more diabetic in their future, increasing their morbidity and mortality. But the point I'm making right now is if we never had any medical care for diabetes, we couldn't lower people's blood sugar. If we didn't have any option, then people would be forced to eat, to exercise and to eat right and to lose the extra 20, 30 pounds they have or 40, 50 pounds they have on their body. They'd be forced to start eating broccoli and beans and string beans and onions and mushrooms. They'd have no choice because they don't have medications that allow them to go have Big Macs. The medications, you can still have French fries and Big Macs. Your sugar looks good. it's suicidal, it's insanity, and and it's so easy to reverse diabetes. And now they're all big into, okay, so now what we do to reverse diabetes for medical care is we give people gastric bypass surgery or lap bands. And then they reverse their diabetes. But after a while, their lap band, so we give them surgery. It's absolutely insane. And like you said earlier, usually in 2 to 6 weeks, more than 80% of people with type 2 diabetes reverse their diabetes and become non-diabetic. And within 6 months, more than 90% of type 2 diabetics become non-diabetic, following my nutritarian plan, which is so delicious and so easy to do that people love it. And it saves lives. And you know that the studies show that if you live in an inner city with a food desert where you're obese diabetic, the calculated years of life lost. Guess how many years of life are lost by an overweight diabetic living in a food desert in America?
How much?
45 years of life.
No way. Wow.
It's unbelievable how young these people are dying. And so we're talking about having a normal lifespan and having a happy life. And diabetes causes depression. It causes anger. People they lose their intelligence. They lose their creativity. They lose their concentration. We have to wipe it out. And we have to talk more about type 1 diabetics too.
Yes.
Not just talking about type 2. We're talking about type 1 when we get back. We can talk about that.
Yeah, no, I want to add to what you're saying. Brilliant. That if there were no drugs, and Dr. Furman, my registered service mark is you can take a pill or you can take responsibility. It's not that I'm against the pill, because there are some medications out there that are life-saving. But for the most part, most of us, as you say on the show over and over again, disease is a lifestyle choice. And so when we refuse to give up certain foods, what we're really saying is that we want disease in our life. And it's subliminal. We have been programmed to eat a certain way. You talk about the standard American diet all the time on the show. And we have just become desensitized to the fact that we can change our life. We can do that. In the book Fast Food Genocide, I'm sure that you discuss the food deserts that are out there. But really, is there a food desert? Because many of the farms are near those food deserts.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's really senseless. And we're talking now the fact that for an individual with type 2 diabetes that's becoming non-diabetic, getting back and healthy again, can improve their emotional outlook on life, bring back their happiness, take the thinking cloud off their head, fix their body is deteriorating. It's being destroyed. Their kidneys their body is being eaten away by diabetes. And it doesn't have to be. We can save so many lives if people, and everybody should know this information, even if you're not diabetic.
Yeah.
Because the same things that cause the diabetic to age, Americans are they're pre-diabetic. They're still overweight. Almost all Americans are overweight, eating the wrong foods, and they don't understand the destructive, addictive nature of these foods. And some people would rather die. They'd rather be dead than change their diet. We've got to change. And that's what I'm hoping that our conversations are doing, Dr. Furman. I am committed to doing whatever it takes, and to have the mindset, what if there were no drugs to cure me? What would I be willing to do? That you just blew me away with your comment about that. But what if there were no drugs to cure diabetes? We would eat broccoli, and we would eat the foods that would sustain us. Okay, so in your book, The End of Diabetes, which, by the way, the 10th caller or texter, 407-373-5959. That's 407-373-5959. That's caller to leave a message, or texter, and just text The End of Diabetes, and we'll call you after the show. Now, you have the 6 steps to achieving these health goals in your book. I love the 6 steps. Your first one is the commitment to write it down. Share how that can help us to write our goals down so that we can go achieve that. What if there are no drugs? That mentality. What am I willing to do? Write it down. So what do you mean by that? Would you share a little bit more? Well, first of all, as you know, my goal is to make the individual the expert. Yes. They can't just do it. They have to learn about why this works, how it works, how your taste buds change, how you're going to feel when you're doing it. They got to really be a big expert. And the next thing is we have to motivate them and show them that this can taste better, that their taste can be retrained, and give them the motivation and education so there's no chance they're going to fail. And writing this down and seeing exactly not just what you're eating, but how much weight you're losing and how your sugars are improving is so motivational and encouraging, watching the transformation occur in front of your eyes. And I want people to be able to brag about the results they're getting. And that's so, because a lot of people go on diets, but they don't lose weight fast. They're not losing 15 pounds a month. They're not seeing their diabetes go away. They're not seeing their sugars drop and their blood pressure drop. They're not seeing the benefits. When you see the almost miraculous benefits that occur from following a nutritarian program, then it reinforces you that you're on the right. You really get excited about it.
Yes.
And you get enthusiastic about it.
Yes.
And let me just say that the type 1 diabetics, though they don't reverse their diabetes completely because they still require some insulin, it's the excess insulin, their dietary, the advice given to type 1 diabetics is just take this insulin to cover what you want to eat and space out, but what happens is they wind up taking 2 or 3 times as much insulin as they would have needed if they really ate correctly. Mm-hmm. And the excess insulin given to the type 1 diabetics is what kills them prematurely, causes heart attacks, causes them to go to the premature dementia, causes them to be onto kidney failure. So we're killing type 1 diabetics with medication as well. Mm. Now, when a type 1 diabetic follows a nutritarian diet, they can cut their insulin requirements back by 2/3. They only need 1/3 as much insulin as they were requiring before. And when they require small amounts of insulin, and they're eating right, it enables them to have no more morbidity or premature mortality from their type 1 diabetes. And they can have a normal lifespan, living to be 95 or 100 years old without going blind, without going demented, without having heart attacks. So because people say the end of diabetes, you should say the end of type 2 diabetes because you can't help a type 1 diabetes. And I'm saying, no. It's even more important for the type 1 diabetic.
Yes.
Because even though we're not ending the diabetes completely, we're ending the risk and the morbidity and increased mortality and dangers of having type 1. And one more thing, if I could add real quickly, is that in my medical practice, when a type 1 diabetic is diagnosed as a child, comes to me immediately at the diagnosis, though it's reversible condition in the early stages. So when we catch it really early, and we're working with type 1 diabetics, I'm writing this medical journal article right now, reviewing of these cases of type 1s that have gotten well completely, that no longer have type 1 diabetes anymore because we caught it so early and got them on the right plan, bang, at the very start. But once it goes on for years, you can't really reverse it anymore.
So it's important to nip it, going to the grocery store and buying things and putting what you have in the fork, whatever's at the end of your fork. Those are all things that contribute to your health.
It's important to have it's important for people to feed their children correctly, so they don't even get type 1 diabetes.
I know.
They breastfeed and they feed them. They got to eat right, so they don't even get type 1 diabetes.
I know. Dr. Furhman, we are so passionate about this. I love this man. For those of you who would like a copy of The End of Diabetes, go call 407-373-5959, leave a message, or you can text me. 407-373-5959. And we're going to continue our conversation with Dr. Joel Furhman when we return worldwide at whenyouneedafriend.com. We'll be right here waiting for you. I just love seeing you. And when you get into these you're just lose yourself, Dr. Furhman, in the passion that you are willing to do whatever it takes to help somebody. And I love that about you. So the one thing I want to briefly talk about when we come back, Dr. Furhman, is the fact that that you have a Pbs Special, and you can go to actually I'm going to send them to whenyouneedafriend.com to my favorites, because you're in my favorites, and they can click onto my site and to go to yours as well. And I want to talk about your Pbs Special, but also mention quickly what a nutritarian lifestyle is, or since you have so many shows, maybe say go to whenyouneedafriend.com, listen to one of the shows that you've been on or your books or whatever, and not so much dive into the nutritarian, because I really do want to talk about the 6 bullet points, which the first one is the commitment to write it down. The second one is to draw up a business plan. I love that. Track your progress, make it public, Make Kitchen Healthy, and the exercise prescription, which are the 6 things that you had suggested. My phone has been ringing nonstop, Dr. Furman. I'm serious. I've had so many calls since you've been on, but I want to see if I've got no, I don't have her symptoms. But you're thinking that perhaps an intolerance to food, going back to our original question from our texter, that they just keep calling, the phone keeps ringing, that it could be an allergic sensitivity to a certain food. Would you suggest an elimination diet?
Yes, I think that's reasonable to do elimination. It is true that some people maybe are allergic to certain foods or can't tolerate certain foods, but it's usually intolerances go away when we give people a small amount of that food over a period of many years, and they can increase it gradually. So this individual case, it sounds more like a food allergy. That she has a food allergy, but I don't know. I mean, I know that the book you're referring to that tries to get people off peppers and eggplant and beans and because they claim the agglutinins and the lectins are dangerous.
Yes.
That book is just based on lies, and it's dishonest. It's not just a disagreement, a misinterpretation. It's actually, they quote studies in the book, and then you go pull that study, it doesn't say what it claimed the study said it said in the book. So the book is it's a gimmick, it's a fraud. And they're trying to sell people then a supplement to deal with the lectins so they can now eat beans. It's a money-making scheme like snake oil that people are buying into. And so it's just really it's a fraudulent book, and it's disgusting. To get people afraid to eat beans, which is the food obviously that's linked to enhanced longevity, all this blue zones. There's been hundreds of studies on bean consumption increasing human lifespan and protecting against cancer. And so it's just totally against the overwhelming amount of preponderance of evidence in the scientific literature and the experience of people who have obviously, substituting beans for meat and substituting beans for other foods that are higher glycemic carbohydrates that have recovered their health through the use of beans. That doesn't mean there can't be people that are allergic or intolerant to any food. So people can't eat corn, some people can't eat beans, some people can't eat, anything, but that's unusual.
Yeah. So if someone is allergic, then having smaller amounts of that food would help? No, that's when people have digestive intolerance, they can titrate down to the smallest amount where they have no symptoms and keep eating it regularly in a very small amount, and eventually they can resolve their food intolerances. But when they're allergic, they're best off staying away from the food completely if they have a true allergy to it. So there's difference. And we can, as a physician, you try to ascertain and even test to see if a person is allergic to that food. So they need sometimes their diet maybe has to be customized. I hear your dog. Okay, so when we come back, I'll go over my website and all of that and talk about that. And we'll reintroduce you.
You can text Lillian McDermott or leave her a voicemail at 407-373-5959. Once again, here's Lillian.
Welcome back to the McDermott Radio Show, where we always learn and grow with one another. For those of you who have texted and sent voicemails and emails saying that you are growing with me on your ride to work or on your way home, depending on when you listen to the show, it just warms my heart to know that this show is making a difference in your life. And some of those people that are making a difference in my life, this radio show is like my classroom, and I have such great teachers, and you can hear the show in so many different ways. And I want to encourage you, we have been taught a certain way. We've been taught to give our power to a pill. There is no pill on this earth, no pill. And I'm going to say this with certainty. I'm not a clinician. I am not a registered, other than a life coach, but this is what I know from all these wonderful teachers. There's no pill out there that can do what food can do. There's studies showing that a pill alone cannot do it. There's so much more, and that power is within us. That power is within us. Let's not give our power away to a pill. That's why my registered service mark is you can take a pill or you can take responsibility. It's not that I'm against pills, because there are times we need them, right? But that's short term. Long term is taking your health back, making these choices. Dr. Joel Furhman has been on my show for over 2 years now. And there are over 2 years of shows, different topics. You can go to whenyouneedafriend.com. While you're there, please become a subscriber. And while you go there as well, check out my sponsors, because without my sponsors, this show would not happen. So I want to encourage you not only to become a subscriber, but listen, I want to encourage you to consider that perhaps maybe we have been told some lies, that if you take a pill, you will get better. That is not necessarily true. What do you believe? And what you believe, and the thoughts in your mind, and your mind, body, spirit, all of that plays a part in your healing. And so what are you willing to do? What are you willing to do to live that life? Today, we're giving the book away. The 10th caller or texter, 407-373-5959. We're giving away The End of Diabetes by Dr. Joel Furhman. I want to encourage you to go to whenyouneedafriend.com, listen to what it takes to be a nutritarian. But let me give you a hint. Greens, beans, onions, mushrooms, berries, seeds. That is that's Dr. Furhman's prescription, but that's not all. There's more to it, and I want to encourage you to learn more. I want to also encourage you to like me on my social media. If you have any questions for the doctors or the teachers that I have on the show, you're welcome to call me, text me, leave me messages, and I promise you, I will get to it as soon as we can. The number again is 407-373-5959. And we are giving the 10th caller or texter The End of Diabetes. I think, Dr. Furhman, people are tired of being sick, but we just don't know what to do because we've been told that there's no answers. And the pharmaceutical industry will keep us sick enough to need that next pill, but no one really gets cured. We continue to use that pill. So as you have developed your, what we call nutritarian diet, nutritional excellence, what else can you tell us that will shock us into, you gotta stop and take personal ownership and change your lifestyle? What can you tell us?
Well, first of all, we know that the American diet is deadly. And it doesn't just cause diabetes. It also causes most people in America to have cancer as well. And most Americans over the age of 50 have cancer in their body because the tests are not sensitive enough to detect the cancer in its very early stages. So, and most Americans have significant atherosclerosis. And when you're overweight, pre-diabetic and diabetic, it accelerates the rate at which atherosclerosis develops, increasing your risk of having an earlier life heart attack or a stroke. So, but the same issues that happen in the diabetics and the pre-diabetics happen in all Americans. They're eating the American diet. It's just the American diet is not compatible with good health. If you eat the same way other Americans eat, you are going to develop these diseases: heart attacks, strokes, dementia, and diabetes and cancer. Mm-hmm. So what I'm saying is that the underlying principle here is that these diseases that afflict and tragically destroy and weaken and kill Americans it's a tragedy because ever so much more because they don't have to happen, because heart disease doesn't have to happen, high blood pressure doesn't have to happen. They're reversible conditions, by the way. Diabetes doesn't have to happen, it's reversible. And early stage of cancer is reversible and cancer is preventable too. So we can lump all these diseases into a basket and say, these are the diseases of nutritional ignorance. These are the diseases that we've become addicted to, this food eating style in America that we've now spread to the modern world. And it's worse than nuclear weapons. It's worse than radiating our populations. We're spreading death and disease all over the world and killing our own populations. And we're destroying our genes so our future offspring now have higher rates of autism and higher rates of brain tumors and higher rates of childhood cancer and higher rates of autoimmune disease. We're weakening our genes passed on to future generations by the way Americans eat.
Okay.
I'm saying that we all have to learn. It should be reading, writing, arithmetic, and nutritional science We all have to learn these advances in nutritional science that can protect ourselves, protect our family, and protect our loved ones and our nation. And it's imperative that everybody, not just the overweight diabetic, it's imperative that everybody learns this information about nutrition that we should have learned in grade school, because then we have the power to have goodwill and to have the power to encourage each other, to work together and support each other. And with that support, with that camaraderie, changing the central, let's say, central norm. Central norm has to be eating right, like it became not smoking. Smoking used to be the norm. Now smoking is looked on as being, you got to be crazy to smoke. We got to see that eating a diet rich in healthy foods, colorful plants that protect against cancer and heart disease has to be the norm. And you have to be crazy at a hot dog or French fries or pizza or burger. That's only for people that are insane.
But people don't think of it that way, Dr. Furman. We have been conditioned. And because we have that get rich quick mentality, get healthy quick mentality, lose weight mentality quick, all these things we're not willing to do. It's just like that Meatloaf song that I sing all the time on the show. I would do anything for love, but I won't do that. There's that, I will do anything to be healthy, but no, don't take away my meat. Oh, don't take away my pie. But the thing is, with the nutritarian, you have lots of wonderful desserts, lots of great food. People think that if we eat healthy, somehow it's bland and yucky, but yet they'll believe anyone that is a fraudulent, trying to make a sell, a fad, a gimmick. We go for that because it's the get healthy quick plan. And it takes us a long time to get us to where we are. And it's going to take a long time, not a long time. You're saying 2 weeks to reverse diabetes. So, 6 months gone. Who is willing to do that? If you're willing to do that, be the 10th caller or texter, 407-373-5959. So let's talk about sugar, sweeteners, and all the things that I've seen people say, I can't have sugar, but then they'll down, this pie or this diet soda, or, that it just mimics the brain. The brain gets lulled into thinking we're doing something great. What are some of the little steps that we can do? And go ahead and answer the sugar part, but what are some of the little steps that we can do to promote health in our body?
Right. Well,
sugar first.
Okay. Well, first of all, we're talking about the glycemic load of a food. It means how fast the glucose or the sugar enters the bloodstream, how rapidly that sugar enters the bloodstream. The response to that is the body produces a huge amount of insulin. Mm-hmm. Insulin is produced by the beta cells in the pancreas. And insulin is a fat storage hormone. It lowers the sugar in the bloodstream by forcing the fat cells in the muscles to pick up the sugar rapidly. And so insulin makes you grow fat faster. And the more fat you have on the body, the more it blocks the uptake of insulin. As you get heavier, the beta cells in the pancreas are forced to produce more insulin to get the same response. So over the years of you getting heavier and heavier, you eat a potato and your body now need to secrete 10 times the amount of insulin that it would have needed had you been thin and eating right. So what I'm saying right now is that the amount of insulin production by the pancreas has to do with how much fat you eat and how much fat is on the body, right? Okay. So now, and insulin also promotes cancer because it's a growth-promoting hormone. It promotes the growth of fat cells, but it also promotes angiogenesis. It promotes the growth of blood vessels and cellular replication in general, so new blood vessels grow to fuel the growth of fat. So as you're promoting the cellular replication, the growth of new blood vessels, you're promoting the growth of tumors and cancers throughout your whole body. So excess insulin and obesity is linked to higher rates of cancer as well as higher rates of diabetes. Now, what you were saying earlier, that it's hard for people because they become addicted to this sugar rush, which affects dopamine secretion in the brain. So like opiates hit dopamine and narcotics, and cocaine hits dopamine, so does this rush of sugar into the bloodstream. Hits the dopamine receptors and makes you more insulin resistant. And there's a link between the consumption of sugar and the propensity for prevailing drug abuse, opiate abuse, or illegal drug use. So we're talking here about it's that this high glycemic diet accelerates both heart attacks, diabetes, and cancer simultaneously.
And we're going to continue our conversation with Dr. Joel Furman when we return worldwide at whenyouneedafriend.com. We'll be right here waiting for you. I want to hear everything you have to say, so I'm just going to bring it to the last second. Okay, so Dr. Furman, also with the artificial sweeteners, so we have been taught by our parents and the parents before them and the parents before them, but somewhere along the way, something happened to our food. I don't know when it happened. I don't know if it was in the 90s. I don't know if it was a result of the TV dinners. I don't know what happened.
It got worse after World War I and World War II. World War II in particular is when the food industry started designing foods that soldiers could take on the battlefield. And they made Spam and Schwinkies and instant coffee. And they came back with potato chips and more foods that can keep on a shelf of a convenience store that didn't have to be refrigerated, that could stay in a packages. And the foods became cheap, inexpensive, tasty, had long shelf life. They didn't go bad. They were colorful and attractive, and they were highly flavored. So people, and then the fast food industry. So it was right around the 1950s, after the end of World War II, when we start to see more inclusion of processed foods in the American diet compared to the first half of the 19th century, or the first 1900s, excuse me. So between 1900 and 1940, things weren't as bad. There were higher consumption of foods grown on the farm and shipped to the cities. And then after that, the processed food industry took over. And of course, everything has a lag time because of the 20, 30-year lag, which means when you see cancers really start to skyrocket. The cancer rates and heart attack rates were increasing from 1910 all the way up to 1950, but the rate of increase in obesity and diabetes and cancer and autoimmune disease took a spike upward between 1950 and 1995. In 1995 and 2000, cancer rates started to go down a little bit as effect of people not smoking cigarettes as much, and because doctors stopped prescribing estrogen for women, which started to lower the rate of breast cancer because doctors contributed to the large rise in breast cancer because they used to recommend postmenopausal women all take estrogen. So
now estrogen, are you saying all estrogen is created equal, or should there be a balance between progesterone and estrogen? Is there a magic number for every individual person?
No. Well, estrogen estrogen stimulation of the body promotes breast cancer. And the decreased exposure to estrogen causing postmenopausal symptoms is life-saving because, well, if people ate right, they'd have lower level of estrogens through their whole life. Fat cells produce estrogens, not produced by the ovary. The Americans are women are producing way too high levels of estrogen. So then when menopause comes and the ovaries stop producing estrogen, they feel menopausal and get symptomatic. And doctors can give them more estrogen so they can feel better because they were used to taking so much estrogen before menopause. So what I'm saying right now is that if they were eating right and had lower fat stores throughout their whole life or through years before menopause, they would have a higher amount of estrogen receptors. When the estrogen drop takes, wouldn't be so hard on the body.
Got it. Okay, and then so tofu's been linked to estrogen, right?
No, there's no link of tofu to estrogen.
They were saying soy, and I was just having a conversation with somebody yesterday. Okay, here we go. We'll address that. We'll address some recipes. Welcome back to the Lillian McDermott Radio Show, where we always learn and grow with one another. I hope you're enjoying this journey of mine that is on growth and learning and considering a new truth. You know, there was a time they thought the earth was flat until someone came along and said, yeah, maybe not. Maybe it's a sphere. And it took them a long time to embrace that new truth. But guess what? There's still people out there that believe the earth is flat. What will you choose? No, this is an opportunity to consider a new truth. And I want to encourage you to research it yourself. Just because you're hearing it here on the show and it becomes my truth, that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to buy into it. Research it, learn it, make it your truth so that you can then embrace it as your own lifestyle. That's what Dr. Furman, he goes around the world sharing this information. And for those of you who will embrace it as a new truth, try it. And you'll see how wonderful it is. You know, Dr. Furman, I talked about earlier that I wanted to discuss the 6 steps in achieving our health goals. And we got to the first one, which is to write it down. The second one is to draw up a business plan. What does that look like when you're dealing with your life as a business plan?
Well, you know, change is difficult for people.
Yes.
And, you know, and I want them to prepare to make sure it works for them this time. We don't want to reinforce failure because people have tried diets, they've lost weight, they've gained it back again, they've lost weight, they've tried these fads that they couldn't be sustained, or they didn't do it right, or they had emotional overeating problems, their food addictions weren't addressed. Whatever the weaknesses and the approach they've tried didn't work, we want to remove those obstacles right now. And the business plan means that we look at what are the obstacles people usually have? How are we going to solve it up front? You know, how are we going to get rid of your triggers for emotional overeating? How do you get rid of your temptation, stock the house properly with the food you need, figure out when you're going to time it, so what night you're going to cook during the week to make your soup, when are you going to shop for the food, when are you going to fit in your exercise, how are you going to structure your life to make this work? And I usually instruct people that they can do this with usually just preparing food on Wednesday evenings and for a few hours on Sunday, and we can lay out the food for the whole week. That's like part of their business plan, which includes what they're going to eat for breakfast, what they're going to shop for, what they're going to eat for lunch, how they're going to make it simplified. And I want to make sure people know that this has been scientifically vetted, not just for efficacy, but also for taste and flavor and enjoyment. And for example, in the study we published in 2010 on about 750 people, showed they enjoyed eating this diet plan and the recipes and the taste more than their old diet. Because I know what people are thinking. They're listening and they're saying, you know, I can lose weight, I can get healthier, I can get rid of my high blood pressure medications, I can extend my lifespan, but I'd rather just die younger. I'd rather just take the pills. That way I can eat whatever I feel like eating. And I want to enjoy my life more. I'd rather I'll live a couple of years less, but I'll enjoy my life more, not being on some restrictive diet.
That sounds like something a drug addict would say.
That's exactly what it is. It's these delusional self-rationalizations that the addict says. And the more people are addicted, the more they come up with these delusional excuses why it's not right for them. And the people that need it the most are the people that aren't thinking they should do it. You know, it's in other words, everybody should be eating this way, because if we're talking about granting people the ability to really enjoy their golden years, not only have golden years and be alive in your 80s and 90s, but to be well enough to enjoy your life in your 80s and 90s. So what is living if you're not really living?
Yes,
the point is, who would want to cut their life short in their 60s and 70s and not live 20 years longer if you could be guaranteed great health in those last 20 years?
See, that's
really enjoy your life.
Yeah, that's what happens, Dr. Furman, when you're in your 30s and in your 40s, and you don't even think about what your life could be like in your 60s or your 70s.
It could be living hell.
It could be. It could be.
Not only people don't. The food doesn't taste so good when you're in the coffin. You know, kill yourself with food. But if sometimes it's worse than being in the coffin, because you could be alive in a nursing home and eating pablum for the rest of your life, unable to chew and not able to move or poop or pee.
Yeah.
Not able to move. You could have a stroke. You could have it's even worse because so many Americans lose their brains and lose their bodies and are stuck living in a horrible, tragic situation.
Yes.
It's caused by what they ate.
Yes. And so I want to encourage, for those of you who'd like to go to whenyouneedafriend.com, Dr. Fuhrman has for those of you who go, oh, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to eat. I don't know what to pick. Dr. Fuhrman has some great PDF books, or books on PDF. And you can go to whenyouneedafriend.com, go to my favorites, hit the Dr. Fuhrman button that I have on my favorites. He has a PDF called Transformations, Dr. Fuhrman's it's a Transformations, reduce 20 pounds. So type 2 diabetes, medication, and lose weight in 20 days. So the Transformation 20, that's what it's called. And it tells you what to shop for, why this is good for you, and it has beautiful pictures each day. So 20 days of exactly what to eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It is fabulous. I've done it myself. It is great. I love the recipes. They're very tasty. In this book that we're talking about today, which is one of, I think, 14 books?
12.
12. Oh, well, and I know that you have 2 more in you, Dr. Furman. So he's got 12 books out there that started off with the Eat to Live plan, and The End of Diabetes has wonderful recipes as well. You also have some stories of people that in the book. Would you like to share a story of someone that you thought they could never get better from diabetes, that they thought that they would have diabetes for the rest of their life and take insulin for the rest of their life? Can you share a motivational story that we could relate to?
Sure, I don't know if you could relate to it, but number one, I'm agreeing that the book, The End of Diabetes, with the T20 Diabetes Reversal Program, if the person gets those 2 things together, it gives the T20 diabetic menus plans, gives you more recipes and more menus and more, so that's a great combination for the people who are pre-diabetic or diabetic or just overweight, to just drop their extra body weight and get super healthy. It doesn't have to be for a diabetic.
Yes.
But because I'm a physician specializing in nutritional reversal of disease, I get referrals from other doctors who send some of their sickest patients to me. So I've had people with their toes cut off or leg amputations or people in kidney failure. And the biggest thrill is when you're seeing people who've had kidney disease or have uncontrollable diabetes or the doctors can't control them. They come to me and they get totally well. But some people have their legs cut off from diabetes. Mm-hmm. So one man was his podiatrist was going to amputate his foot, to cut his foot off because of chronic infections in his foot. But he pleaded with the doctor. He said, please, I'll do anything to get well, to save my leg. I don't want to have my leg cut off. I don't want to lose my foot, and be able to walk again. So the doctor, after years of having these chronic infections and never mentioning it, finally said, okay, then maybe I heard about Dr. Furman's program. Maybe look into this and see what could happen, right? Mm-hmm. So, of course, the guy saves his foot, gets the circulation back to his foot. The diabetes goes away, becomes non-diabetic. So we're talking about these things happening every day across America. People are having leg amputations. People are going blind. People are having their kid going on dialysis because of their diabetes. And doctors don't say a word. This is the only way they said a word to this person because he begged the doctor, isn't there anything else I can do to possibly save my foot? And the doctor's like, well, yeah, you could try it. You know what I mean? These stories are every day, these referrals from physicians. And you get and sometimes the person will say to me, oh, my endocrinologist and my diabetologist threw up his hands and said, what, are you going to just eat celery and carrots the rest of your life and be like a rabbit? He kind of like poo-pooed it. And then, they're in some instances, they can be discouraging and can say, oh, yeah, we know that works, but nobody's going to really listen to do it, or so I'm just going to give you a drug. Even the doctors come up with rationalizations because they don't know anything about it. And they just assume it's not going to be something the person would want to do. And I'm saying, everybody deserves to know about this. Everybody that goes to a physician has to be told that a nutritarian diet deliciously reverses type 2 diabetes and is 100 times more effective than drugs. And if they're not given their information, malpractice is being practiced on you.
Yes, absolutely. And for those of you who would like a copy of The End of Diabetes, the 10th caller or texter, 407-373-5959. I'm so excited. And here's a tip from me, and this is me, Dr. Furman, and this is not said in judgment. But when I go to a personal trainer, I want them to look better than me. When I go to a doctor, I want them to be healthier than me. I want all of you to wake up, look at your doctor and say, do I want advice from someone who's not healthy? I want to encourage you to make a choice to take your life back. Dr. Furman, thank you so much for everything that you're doing. I really do appreciate you, and I'm looking forward to our next conversation.
Okay, terrific.
And for you, my listening friend, you can take a pill, you can take responsibility. You've heard a new truth today. What will you do about it? Please remember, I'll be right here waiting for you worldwide at whenyouneedafriend.com. This is Lillian McDermott wishing you love, peace, joy, and unexpected abundance. Make it the best day ever. Awesome, Dr. Furman. I just absolutely love you. Thank you so much for what you're doing. And so I will get the symptoms for this young lady that was wondering if she has leaky gut syndrome, but you're thinking that she might have a sensitivity to a certain food. Is there a particular, what do you do with your patients that may have sensitivities to food? Do you have them have a blood test? Do you just do elimination? What do you do?
If she thinks beans are the problem, the first thing we should do is just take out beans and take out beans for a week, put it back for a week, take it out for a week, put it back for a week, and she would keep a a diary of how she's feeling when she takes it out and puts them back in. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So I don't even know what her problem is. As you know, the drfurman.com member center, right? People can ask me questions and ask myself and Dr. Benson, my medical staff, and communicate with us and get advice directly from us. So I could figure out what her problem is. It may have nothing to do with the leaky gut, or the beans to begin with. I don't know what she should be communicating with us if she has a problem. That's what it's for.
Very good. Very good. And I will suggest that. I don't know. She's probably already a member. I don't know.
Well, why isn't she asking me on the website, asking us what her problem is, That's
true. So go to drfurman.com and become a member. And how often do you get to the boards, Dr. Furman? Because I know you have a busy practice.
I spend about 2 hours a day answering questions on the website every day. Some days I can't get to it. And there's a buildup of questions because I'm so busy, but then I have to make up for it by putting in 3 hours worth the next day or something. You know what I mean? So, and
you are committed.
So I'm always answering some questions, and so is Dr. Benson getting there almost 7 days a week answering questions as well.
No, so Dr. Benson is in your practice and learning from all the stuff that what a great gig to be with you.
Well, he's been with me for almost a decade now.
Wow. Wow. So pretty soon he'll be out there too, huh?
He sees patients. Well, he's the person seeing most of the patients. I'm the one out there traveling around speaking, and he's the one seeing most of the patients, you know what I mean, in the office.
That's wonderful.
He's a good guy.
Yeah, I would think so. We should get him on the air. We should have him come on and yeah. But anyway, I really do appreciate
He's also quite handsome.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
So is that one of the criteria? So you have to have, all of you have to be handsome to work as.
He looks very young. He looks so young but anyway, I guess when you're nutritarian, you age slower. So he looks much younger than he is. You know what I mean?
Another benefit to being a nutritarian. Dr. Furman, thank you so much for all the work you're doing. And I'm looking forward to our next topics. We have to pick it right after the show. So thank you for watching, and I look forward to our next conversation.